All right, so just a quick introduction to our sponsors today. This webinar is brought to you by Leap and our partners at MarketSharp. For those who aren't familiar with Leap, we are a subscription-based cloud software that companies of all sizes can use to digitize their business. We integrate with other top home improvement softwares to bring everything together into one place. So this includes your estimates, contracts, proposals, brochures, even down to on-the-spot financing. Leap allows you to get rid of redundancy and errors that slow down your sales process and helps you scale and grow your business, all while giving homeowners a great experience. One of the softwares that Leap integrates seamlessly with is MarketSharp. MarketSharp is a CRM solution custom designed for the home contractor industry. And this diagram here shows a little bit about how that integration works. So the leads flow from MarketSharp into the Leap system for sales to work. And then when sales changes the status or results their leads in Leap, then it gets shot right back into MarketSharp, either to the lead section if the sale wasn't closed for proper follow-up, or into the customer section if the deal was won and it flows on through to production. And it all works seamlessly. It's definitely a case where that 1 + 1 = 3. So you put these two together and a lot of great things happen. We'd absolutely love to tell you more about these platforms. If you're interested, please go ahead and drop a comment into that Q&A panel and we'll reach out to you on that. And for everyone who's on the webinar today, for joining us, as a thank you for joining us today, we've got some giveaways to give out at the end of the webinar. We've got some great packages from Dave Yoho Associates and also a Amazon Echo Show that we'll be giving away as door prizes today. So we'll have the drawing for this at the end of the webinar, so be sure to stick around until the end for the drawing. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to our speaker today, Dave Yoho. Dave founded a residential roofing company at age 28, which eventually operated with 22 branches in 13 states, and in the early 70s had annual revenues of $60 million. In today's dollars, that's close to 300 million. Dave's ideas and counseling have brought success to thousands. His experience representing Fortune 500 companies, as well as entrepreneurs, gives him a rich history of profit improvements, turnarounds, and in-depth problem solving. He is the president of the oldest, largest, and most successful consulting company representing this industry. He has appeared in over 100 training videos for Fortune 500 companies, and he's the author of the best-selling book, Have a Great Year Every Year. His company developed the sales methods which are used by the most successful people in the home improvement industry. And with that, welcome, Dave.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And with deep appreciation to our sponsors, thank you, Leap. Thank you to our other supporting sponsors. This is a sponsored program. So from time to time, we'll have people call in and say, or write into me and say, why all the commercials? Well, there aren't a lot of commercials, but we wouldn't have our program without the sponsors, without MarketSharp, without Leap, without Qualified Remodeler, and the people who contribute to this program to make it possible for me to talk to you today and get your feedback. Now, I'm going to start out with a perfunctory remark. Fits everybody. Here's the prime thing you have to be considering. We're talking to an audience that has small companies. Maybe you do under $1 million. We have companies on here that do over 400 million and interactive groups in the middle. All get the same message from me. Number one, you cannot know what you do not know. Number two, about number one, you cannot know what you do not know. Excuse me, until you can say, there's something I do not know. Now, all that being said, you're going to hear some things today that are provocative. They're inconsistent with what you know up to this moment. They are different from the things that you've heard at other seminars or even in the magazines that you read or the fundamental studies that come out of the great learning institutions of the world. Here are some facts. We in this industry, in the home improvement remodeling business, sell an unfinished product. It can't be compared to other people who sell products, even those who sell products in the home. What we are selling, what we are marketing is an inconsistent image. So it all depends on the person who is presenting that image to that prospect, to that customer you would like to have. We want to get some things straight. Certain kinds of people can do it easily. Certain types of people can do it only after some difficulty in the early stages of training. And some people never get to the needs that you have in your company. That doesn't make them bad. But the conditions of the marketplace have changed. The customer has changed, and it's all more complicated by the pandemic that we face right now. Many of you were on furlough. Your companies weren't permitted to operate in March or April or May, and some of the people who sell to you, the manufacturers, the distributors, they were out of business as well. So we go through a transitory stage, and some people now are experiencing better business than they've ever had before. We've got to look ahead to the future. There are about 6 or 7 weeks left in this year. And in that period of time, you better get to understand how the customer's thinking, feeling, what will and won't work. And then the people that you're bringing into this industry are going to tell this, to expostulate to those people you want to hit. Now, what happens? The conditions of the marketplace. Some of you are operating with selling methods that are incongruent with the customer's needs or feelings or buying habits today. Some of you may be confused with the difference between training and coaching. Training is fundamental and ongoing. Coaching is what we do for and with those people who work for us, who are supposed to be performing tasks, and when we ride with them and hear them expostulate, they need help. So that means to understand the difference between training and coaching and prepare for what you're about to do. Hiring the wrong criteria, using the improper criteria. And one of the things we say about gut feelings, if you think you are foundationally a gut feeling person, here's what I will tell you. And please put up that new slide and you'll see what I'm talking about. We are going to tell you that you are hiring with the wrong criteria. You think people have to know a lot about construction, and they do. But the second phase of it is transmitting that construction, that building, whatever your product may be, to the prospect. And getting people who are capable of doing that means assessing the person you're talking to. Now, when I put back in managing instead of leading, that's where the difference between training and coaching comes in. It's not easy because many of you listening to these programs have the responsibility. You may own the company, you may be the vice president, you may be in HR, whoever it is. You have to understand the difference between managing what you do and leading by example. And then, of course, we go back to compensation. The compensation methods in the industry are, for the most part, archaic. I want you to let you know what I'm doing here. What you see on the screen, I have a copy here in front of me. I took these out so that I would be doing this at your level. We modified the things we're teaching, all right? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the realities in this industry. So bring me that next slide. So here are the realities. First of all, no matter who you hire, no matter how well you do it, there's going to be some turnover. Excessive turnover, mismanagement. Excessive turnover is mostly a process of improper selection or improper management. You may not want to hear it, so I'm going to repeat it again. Excessive turnover is mostly a process of improper selection of that person, or if you hired them, they were managed incorrectly. Managers, owners with mediocre sales or hiring skills. Don't be ashamed of it. You cannot know what you do not know. I conduct series of seminars like this for manufacturers, financial institutions who want to get salespeople to understand what it is in their product, in their service, that's a benefit to homeowners. If you do not have hiring skills, don't think there's going to be a magic that occurs after you've done it a number of years. The quality of the environment, what you bring that salesperson, what you bring that sales manager, what you bring that trainer into, that will usually determine the quality of performance. And it also will affect their optimism. Everything sounds great in the interview and suddenly it's optimistic. You get to a house where the people aren't home or they won't give you sufficient time, or they give you all the fend-offs about why they're going to buy now, and they usually end up selecting something at a lesser price. Now, that's not true, but that's what you'll perceive. Now, the cost of excessive turnover, and where do you see this, is seldom, if ever, identified on your operating statement. What happens when you hire the wrong people? I've set up a few slides to show you this. If you will, give me the next slide. Now, this is an actual company. This is a Midwest company that does about $8 or $9 million a year. They have 8 or 9 salespeople. And we did a study on this, and I just chose this one to show you. It's called H593. That comes from our research department. So the actual costs associated with hiring people, no matter how large you are. Look, recruiting, advertising, which means posting, advertising, posting on Craigslist or Indeed, as you see here. And you add those all up for last year or an entire year, as we had this company do, and it came to $6,180. Now, when we divide that by the number of people we have actually hired, we have to take into consideration the interviewer, that person who works for you. In this case, I have a general sales manager who in that year made 135K. And that was, in their particular company, that was from a base of about 60 or 70,000, and the rest was incentive. But that's the range of that sales manager. And if you broke down their average rate, that's fully loaded, whatever it costs to keep them there. That's the 401K or whatever it is they have, the sales, the income tax withholding, whatever. It came for that person, about 46 hours we spent in the previous year. That's $2,990. So in that first total, you had $9,170. And since they hired in that year, they hired 10 people. That doesn't mean they all stuck, they all made it. But at that very point, that person cost them $917. $917. You got to do the arithmetic. Next slide. So here's what the next slide implies. What did you devote to basic training? So we take the number of hours that go into a trainer, sales manager, HR person, the owner of the business, the general manager. And we did much the same thing based on that same average annual rate of $65 an hour. Remember, the guy didn't get $65. That's what it costs for us to keep them in that job. But you divide it by the number of trainees hired, and that was 10. And here in that specific group, we had $312. Now, here's what we add to that. If we advance them, in this case, this company, when they hire and train, they pay $300 a week for the first 2 weeks as a base salary, even though the salespeople are essentially on incentive, commission, what have you. Now that totals $912 for a year. Doesn't seem so bad so far. Take what we learned in the first, add it to the second slide, we're up to $1,829. And don't fret, I'm going to send you all these things. I'm going to send it to you free of charge, this entire study. Give me the next slide, please. Here's where it gets a little bit testy. The leads, the appointments issued. Now, a lead is anything that comes in that shows interest. An appointment issued means those people who inquire in whatever shape or form, from a trade show, from direct mail, from whatever it is you do in advertising on television or what have you, when we reduce those, all those people who called in to an appointment, means a lead that you can convert to an appointment. And in our system, we teach the scripting for the way the lead comes in, the way the lead is set, and the way it will be handled. But fully loaded costs for the year 2019, fully loaded costs, the average lead was over $440. In this case, in this company, fully loaded costs, the average lead was $470. And that salesperson getting 22 leads in that first 30 days was $10,340 cost to you. Now, if that's the cost to you, now let's take that a step further. If you take a look at that from the first two slides, you add the $1,829, suddenly you're at $12,169 for the first 30 days. Now we have to measure it about what kind of business came in. In this case, the individual average was $42,700 that they brought in the first 30 days. But if you look at that, that comes to $12,169, which represents 28.5% of all the sales that they brought in, 28.5%. It gets worse. Then NSLI means net sales versus leads issued. I'll get to that a little later as a measurement technique. Give me the next slide, please. Now it gets sad, because in 60 days, There were 28 additional leads to the ones we just issued, still at 470. Those leads were worth $13,169 plus the D from the previous, and brings it up to $12,169 plus $13,169 at that point. And take it from me, we researched this, and these are factual data that I'm giving you. That trainee now it's cost you $25,329. Now, in the period of time, they brought in a total of $88,600 worth of business, and it may not look too bad for you. Again, I'll get into the NSLI later. But if you look at that with a commission of 10% on that volume, their total cost was $38,459 in the first 60 days. That's 29.3% versus the sales you brought in. And I won't go back to how many of you misfigured the job or you don't get the proper markup. Watch your email after the webinar. You're going to receive the full case study. You'll see it all on one page. If you have any questions about it, you can email us. And we thank you for the opportunity again to be able to show this to you, for your time invested here today. Next slide, please. Let me tell you about some of the errors that are made. You recruit under deadlines. Right now, many people are saying they get more leads than they ever got before. Great. So how do you compensate? You give the same salesman more leads, and that's what Einstein said. Doing things the same way, continuing to do them even though they're not working, and he called that insanity. Failure to document the methodology. Do you have the methodology that I've just explained? It ain't that hard to do. You can do it in QuickBooks. This is an internal thing. This has nothing to do with your accounting. This is an acute look at what you're doing. You establish your own qualifications for the people you want to hire. You might say, if you're in the general remodeling, but they have to know construction. Yes, they do, but that is not the only thing. Then they have to be able to take construction. If you're going to do an add-on, if you're going to create a dorm or an attic area, create a new bathroom, whatever it is you do, you have to be able to enunciate what you're going to do into a favorable format that customer, that owner, they say, you'll think you lost the job because of the price. No, you lost it because of the value. If you don't find a way to teach people to import, and present value, again, it's got to be input, and then you have to give it the output, how you explain it. Now, here's what happens. Interviewing, selecting may be conducted by the wrong person. What's the wrong person? Well, here. What's happening? What do you do about it? How's it working? Let me do the three things again that we measure everything from psychologically. What's happening? What are you doing about it? How's it working? Well, objective, hire more people. You hire more people and they don't fit, you may have the wrong person. I don't mean that you fire a person. I mean that person has to be trained. You cannot know what you do not know. Now, I said this in the beginning. I want to say it again. You cannot know what you do not know. If you never interviewed, if you've never studied the behavioral context of an interview and what works and what doesn't work, you don't know. But the second thing was, you cannot input new information into your brain, into your working habits, until you admit you don't know. And the third thing, and this was said by Einstein many years ago, and here's what it is. If it ain't working, it ain't working. He didn't say it quite like that. You cannot know what you do not know. You cannot learn what you do not know until you admit you do not know. And then thirdly, what will you do about it? Because if you find out about it and you don't do it correctly, it's the same thing as not knowing. Now, overselling the position means you make it look easy, and it isn't easy. Does it get paid well? Yes. If your organization is run properly, the salesperson is the highest individual compensated in the whole operation for what they do. It's highly incentivized. And I don't mean it's just a matter of that salesperson being able to get more money and get a percentage of the action, whatever that might be. But that's not the whole thing. You don't make it look easy, and you don't make it look unnecessarily hard, but you could undersell the position or the opportunity. And what does that mean? Give me the next slide, please. Underselling the position of the opportunity means, do you have it scripted format to hire your people. We'll get into some of that shortly. So now when you're going to recruit and hiring, how do you track, accumulate, and document the official statistics of your industry to present it to someone? I mean, you're going to have an average. Now, we have some clients who, when the lead is issued, 72% of the time, they get into the house to make a presentation. And some of us have clients who, with the same kind of lead, only get in 48% of the time. Now, that's only one facet, but it's a valuable facet, because here's the lead you invested money in. You set it up as an appointment for this qualified person to go out and see these customers, who, by the way, are going to give you their time. One of their most valuable assets, they're going to give it to you. And now look at failure to handle applicants fast enough, failure to track, accumulate, and document and send those statistics and get it down. It's not easy, but if you do it right, here's what you can expect. Here are the averages in our organization. Now, the ninth one I call looking in all the wrong places. It's never easy. I don't care where it is. You have an image of what you want this person to do. Salespeople, people who interact with sales, even though you don't call them salespeople, have a unique factor, a mechanism in their head. Every day, every morning when they get up, dear Lord, make it easy it's never really easy. That's why you get paid so much money. You get a high percentage of what we get in a contract goes to the salesperson. And we spend a lot of money in marketing, it goes to the marketing department. But the difference between a good and a bad lead, as salespeople, or even some owner sees it, is often the way it is handled. And you fail to verify the applicant information, and you fail to take into consideration if someone gives you a resume and they're 38 years of age and they have had 9 jobs in the 16 or 17 years they've been employed, you really think where they're going to have to learn something new or do it your way is going to make them contented. Now, there are no shortcuts. One of them is hiring a competitor's people. Oh, and you think that's a shortcut because they already know all about the industry. And incidentally, it's a funny thing happens, and I'm going to give you some insights for free information that we put on YouTube. I have never heard a salesman say when he was interviewed, well, the real reason I got fired from my last job is that I had a poor closing record. And then the jobs that I did close, we couldn't make a profit on it, and they had hidden promises. So they finally figured out that the volume I sold, the revenue I brought in was not profitable enough. No, nobody ever does that. They're going to tell you what was wrong with the leads, what was wrong with management, what was wrong with the prospects, were price buyers, tire kickers, whatever it might be. Continue it in language if you want. You're not going to offend me. But the whole world then is corrupted if you think that language is rational. No different than the people who decide to go out shopping in their favorite department store, and when they go in, they're looking at something, and the clerk comes over and says, quote, "May I help you?" And the 85% of the time, the answer is no thanks, we're just looking. Neither are the issues true. They didn't want to help you, and you weren't just looking, you had a mission. If you found what you were looking for, you would buy it. You don't want to tell them that. They'll pile in on you. But we tell, in the fundamental things that we send out to you, we tell you exactly how to deal with that concept. And it's taking what we call an adversarial, not antagonistic, but an adversarial position with your client base, your customer base, your prospect base. I hope I haven't offended you. But there's no chance that some of you aren't going to get offended. I'm poking holes in what you're doing right now, and you want to find out what you can be doing to change it. I'm getting to that, but I just have to get you to recognize there's a better way to do it. Here's where you start. Let me see the next slide. The next slide, now we have that out of context, but I thought that I wanted you to see a slide that say, managers do not manage sales or budget. They manage people. So if what will happen, we will probably, see, I'm going to send you this. You'll see all the way at the bottom, you'll receive a video that will show you how to conduct a powerful hiring interview. But remember, Managers, and that includes you if you're a manager in a marketing department, any department. If you manage the ops people, if you manage the production people, you are a key position. So you are the person that is supposed to manage people, not sales, not production. So the live in-person interview. Now you posted the job, you're going to get resumes in. Goodness, someone has to separate them into A, B, and C. The high percentage of resume are written by resume writers. And it's almost like a phantasmagorical, that's some dream. This is wonderful. Here are my skills. And then they show you the jobs that they were in before. Now you can't do all of this in one interview. You have to have a format for an interview. And again, I'm going to show you a powerful hiring interview, and I ask you to watch it. I interview a high-powered guy. I actually do it on YouTube. You will receive a connection to that ad. You may not like what you see. It's the truth. The tougher the guy, the tougher my interview. The more he is assured of himself, I'm going to make him unsure. I approach the candidate, as you should, with an equal mix of seduction and discouragement. How do you like this? This is what we enjoy. We're 30 years in the business. We're 10 years in the business. Here, you'll see our ads here, there, and that. Johnny made so much. Gene made so much. And this is the wonderful world we're in. Wow. Do you think you could do that? Yes, this guy, this gal says, yes, I can. Well, what makes you so sure? You've never done it before. You've never worked for anyone that I know of that has the kind of training program we have or meets the demands of these. These people that we have are professionals. You're someone with background. Now, would you say that to an interview? Yeah, we say it over the phone all the time. What makes you the candidate for me? Forget the interview, forget your resume for an interview at the moment. I want to interview them like they're a customer. Why? Because if I hire them, they're my first customer. When I hold a sales meeting, I have to sell them on the idea of doing it in a way that is performance successful for most people if they do it in the same way. It calls for directness and challenge all kinds of fluff and inconsistency. So a guy says, last year, let me tell you that I made $198,000. Wow, you must have been very successful. Yeah. So on our second interview, will you be able to bring me in your W-2 or your 1099? Hear what I'm asking them. I'm not saying you're not true. I'm saying, so then comes out, well, it wasn't really done that way. Because, I didn't get paid all of that last year. Someone, no. He contrived that answer to you to make you want him. I'm saying we may want this individual, but I go back to one of our presidents who says, trust, but verify. How do they respond to tough questions? I want you to look at it. Do I seem like a difficult guy to do business? No, but I'm a tough interviewer. And I teach my clients and their people to be tough. I don't reach out for anyone. I don't ever sound needy. We're going to make it whether they're going to work for us or not. If you want them more than they want you, you're going to end up working for them. You have people in your organization now that you're afraid to let go, even though they're not doing what you expect them to do. They're not handling their leads correctly. They're following up on leads. How do you follow up on a lead that you're going in the house and made a full presentation and attempted to close? How do they follow up? By offering another discount? Whatever that might be, whenever you do it, here's what you have to remember. Those leads belong to you. They don't belong to these people that work for you. They belong to you. As one of my clients said one time in a sales meeting where the salesman said, let me tell you my 3 leads over the weekend. And he stood up and he said, they're not your leads. They're my leads. And I gave them to you over the weekend. And I gave them to you in the hopes that you would handle them in the best way that suited their needs and my needs. Does that make sense? But you didn't do it. So then I have to take my leads and see what worth can I get out of it. And we even have associate partners who deal in the recovery of leads that weren't sold. Now, here's what I will tell you. After a certain number of interviews, the unqualified candidate starts to look good or even better than all the other candidates. That's a mistake. It isn't unusual. and it's no criticism of you. So you interview them like a customer, you be direct, you challenge all the fluff and inconsistencies, and then respond to the tough questions when you disarm them. Keep them off balance because that's what they're going to face in the home. When they hear the first words, well, that's a lot of money. It's more money than we intended. We're getting 2 other bids. All of a sudden, all the things you taught them are going to dissolve. I got to give this guy a quick price. Guy, when you meet him at the door, says that to you. He says, look, we're getting 2 other bids. We were just down to Home Depot, and they can give us a bid. And whatever this is, sharpen your pencil. And that guy who works for you is going to be consorted, disturbed, and he'll break into the presence of what he's supposed to be doing, and he'll do what his feelings tell him to do. So do not reach out or sound needy. Next slide, please. I just had him out of place and I apologize. Oh, I'm supposed to be pretty smart, and so it's worth repeating. Managers do not manage sales or budgets. They manage people. But people are peculiar. They're not what you would like them to be. If you're older and you have children or grandchildren, they're not what you would like them to be. Think about this. You weren't what your parents wanted you to be or what your teachers wanted you to be. And often entrepreneurs who do what you do and do it well were they were the rebels against constituted authority. Now, some of you didn't go to college. No loss. Some of you didn't even finish high school. That's your issue, not mine. As long as you understand one thing, you have to learn where other people are. Give me the next slide. I'm going to tell you one of our keys. There's a key. 3, major determination. Can they do the job? Will they do the job? Do they fit the organization and its model of operation, your organization? These can only be determined by using something to help you find out what these people, they come all dressed up in their Sunday best. They give you all the nice, and they're not smoking, they're not chewing gum, and you're, oh, this is wonderful. I want to know, how do they normally function? Will you flip me the slide, please? This is called a DISC analysis. Now, the DISC analysis program, DISC, some of you may have taken it. It dates back to 1928 to Dr. Moulton Marston, who was an associate of Freud, Sigmund Freud, came up with analysis of people. He called it the habits of normal people. Now, I have to watch this because normality means different in some areas. I have some training in the field of human behavior and in clinical psychology. So normal is not what we went. That isn't what they mean. Under normal circumstances, how will that person react? What do they look like? So we use a DISC instrument, and the algorithms in this instrument are designed for you and the kind of business you're in. Now, a lot of them out there, you can buy DISC, you can go online and get them, but they're not formed the way these DISCs are formed. Now, flip the page, will you please? Give me the next slide. The DISC analysis profile is beneficial in this way. When you have someone take it, it only takes 8 or 9 minutes to do it. When they take it and you get a readout, it's going to tell you, as you will see in a minute, how do they function normally? How do they function under presence? How do they mask their behavior? What are their emotional needs? And even if you hire the right person, you've got the right profile, then you turn them over to Attila the Hun, who may be your sales manager. I'm not knocking anybody's behavior, but they're all different kinds of needs and certain kind of behavior. And I'm going to discuss one of these graphs or chart with you. But this is to help you find in this person. You've made a value judgments, a person, whatever it is. They used to smoke, they used to drink, they're divorced, they're on their 3rd marriage. You make value judgments about it. Well, I don't live in that world either, but I wasn't put on this world to value judge other people. What I'm looking for is someone who fits what I need, that won't offend my customers, who will give my customers, who gave up their value time, the correct message, and whether they buy or not, will have a good feeling about having been with my company. But to understand that you have to have a closing, you have to close a certain percentage of that, and the ability to do that will be based on you if you hire a person that falls outside of the realm of those categories. and who you turn them over to for training. And avoid avoiding accepting someone whose perceptions of behavior will lead to failure. I want you again to look free of charge. And we're going to send one of these profiles out to every one of you to do. Next slide, please. Here's what it looks like. It measures surface traits, identifies creative, positive factors, which means you will see in the readout. It only takes 8 or 9 minutes electronically to do it. It prints out 32 pages. It's got an 85+% accuracy rate in the use that we've been identifying with this. And we use our own algorithms. We design it. We paid $185,000 to design algorithms which fit your kind of person. It identifies areas of potential conflict where this person could function. However, and incidentally, it works in a lot of other areas. If you're hiring a bookkeeper, or you're hiring, and I'm going to get to this in a minute, a sales and marketing person, 2 different kinds of influence within your business. It'll assess the potential for their growth. It'll identify stressful issues in the performance of the job role, because it isn't just for hiring the individual. If you hire them, you want to manage them along those lines and set goals which they can meet. It identifies behavioral traits which are adaptable to the job. And let me tell you something already. If you have a good person who does something, I don't care, you call them a project man, whatever it is, their job, whether they are a doctor, an attorney, an obstetrician, a kind of, whatever it is, you have a responsibility to relate information to people at their level, not yours. And the person that you train has to be able to do this. And what do you want in an individual? You'd like them to be able to do those things and then be perfect with the arithmetic and the paperwork that follows, and get all the applications straight and the credit. Oh, you like all of it? It ain't going to happen. And we believe that we use the only behavioral profile, and you're going to get one to do for both hiring and training. Would you flip the slides for me, please? Here are the graphs. Here's what they look like. The 30-some pages that you get, and it says at the bottom, you're going to get one of these. Create these 3, and let me show you what they are. The D, as you can see all the way at the top where it says DIS and C. So the D, that's that red line, that red bar, stands for dominance. Now, what does that mean? A dominance means that they will seek to control the structure, the information. The I is for influence. That is how they can take measured information and send it on to other people. The S means steadiness, and that means they are people who perform in a given way at all times, and most salespeople don't. When they sell a lot, they're up. When they don't sell much, they're down, and we call them slumps, or used to call. And the C, all of the blue line, that's for correctness. So you have dominance, influence, steadiness, and now you get correctness. And most salespeople are not good at paperwork. Don't debate it. Don't change what you're thinking. If you came from the sales department, you know what the heck I mean. You're so anxious to get the order that the paperwork remains incidental. So be it. That's the way behavior works. And here is a profile that distinguishing the average human being. This is an actual profile on the one you would highly look for in selling products in the home to homeowners on what we call short cycle. Now, if from the time you get the lead, it takes you 3 months to close a sale, that's not short cycle. And I'll get into a little more of that in a minute. But say, here's self-perception. Self-perception, that's the first chart. Over here is the second chart. That says under tension, under pressure, how much does it change? And in this particular case, you see it doesn't change much. That yellow line, the gold line, slips slightly below the 90 mark, and it was up to the 80 mark before. So if you see that and you take a look at what you're getting here, you don't get much change here. All the way to the right, that says mask. What do they mask? Well, as you will see here, that gold line stands up there. So in this breakdown, it will show you exactly what is expected of that individual, how you can influence them. And with it, if you happen to like the profile you get, you want to get on, it's all done electronically, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day once we put you online. But the first trick is take one yourself. Look realistically at yourself. When I studied human behavior, that's one of the first fundamentals they taught me. Assess yourself first. You are human. Your behavior will change time to time. But we said this graph is ideal for selling. Modifications of it still work. The project explains that. But I want to show you something that we do after that. Give me the next slide, please. I'm not going to send you one of these. I'm going to send you one of the other ones. But this is called a sales aptitude appraisal. And it's guided by GPAC, as you will see. And it has to do with, see this word all the way up the upper right, aptitude. And on the other side of aptitude is adaptability. And one is the inclination to be able, flexible enough to change. And then the adaptability is that you do change. So this is a sales aptitude appraisal. Let me tell you how it differs from the first instrument. Give me a flip of the page. Here's what we're looking for. What do they know about selling in general? Now, take it from me. You may have someone in your organization that came from the real estate business. And you think, well, they're used to selling in the home. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, that's worth about a 2 in our evaluation. So you say then what they know about certain styles of selling specifically. Some of you just sell roofing or siding or window replacement. We represent the largest window replacement company in the United States. They did $2.2 billion last year in retail sales. We represent a guy who last year in the gutter business, essentially their business, they'll probably do $1 billion this year. But we have equally a number of organizations that are still in the building phase. Are they adaptable to the sales position being offered? You want to know that. This helps you to seek that and find that. And then finally, will they follow your sales model if in fact you have one? And if you don't have one, you better find a way to get one. Next slide, please. Here it looks like on the bar chart. Here, this is persona, that blue mark is persona, way above the 50% line. This will be guided by the individual's background and experience. As I said, if they were in the real estate business, they'll know something about communication in the sales, a form of selling. But they are not normally, the highest percentage of real estate salesmen never sell more than a house or two a year. If they sell 4 or 6, they're big shots. So that measures that persona. Now, if you had somebody who was 28 years of age and only had one job and had this strong persona, that means a lot of their behavior, which is adaptable to your business, is effectively a process that you can upgrade their skills. Now go to the G, and the G is generic. Do they understand the generics of selling? And this is what doesn't happen. If people haven't been in the business a while, how many times do you receive no? We'll think about it. We'll let you know. Give us your card. We'll get back to you. Oh, my goodness, you're such a great salesperson. And all the philosophy of interactive language, which means very little. And no matter what people tell you about what the Harvard studies are, or the Yale studies, or the Princeton studies, or what these great organizations are doing about projections, here's what you have to understand. Does that individual have both the persona and the generics? So you're going to invest a lot of money in this individual. Whether you pay them in front money or not, you're going to give them leads. Now, the green here, that talks about adaptability. And that speaks fairly highly. Look how that grades go up. No matter where they are in the blue and the red, they're adaptable. And that means they will see the adaptability based on their experience, that they're being shown the next level. And we consider most people who come into this business where there is good hiring and there is great training, that their adaptability rewards them first. They are the first recipients. They are the beneficiary. Now, finally, over here is their compatibility. And compatibility is a big thing, capability, compatibility. And notice this, this appears weak. Now what we're going to show you on the next bar graph, don't jump to it just yet, is despite where these numbers are, is how you're able to work with these people. And you have to do these things and see these things with an individual that you're going to hire, and start with yourself first. Just see how accurate these things are. Give me the next slide, please. I want to show you how this breaks down. So we would recommend this person for a hire. And notice they're strongest over here in adaptability. The 56 is slightly below, but it's still effective. Here's what we'd like to have them in the 67 to 80 range, but they're still effective. Now we go over into genetic ability, not bad. The genetic ability is 67 to 80. This is very high. Their adaptability, bingo, wonderful. Their competency now is low, which means that's what you'd have to work on. Give them, if a guy is coming to work, a gal coming to work for you, and you want your average salesperson at over $100,000 a year, and this person has all these other things going for them, but they're only earning $65,000 a year. Their head is into $65,000. Now, next slide, because I've gone through these very quickly for you. So then what is the most common reason for the failure of veteran salespeople or people with the right profile, even those with good training who don't sell consistently? Before I give you the answer, let me tell you, with all the things that you have here, you've got to be the student first, because change is going to be very important. Not only the next 7 weeks to get us to 2021, but the first quarter of 21, the things that no one has told you. Do you think because the pandemic is over, there'll be a change? Yes, there'll be fewer people at home. Yes, there will be change. There will be apprehension. There will be tension. People who had a job or lost it. The people work in malls, they're not there anymore. So we are in a transitory stage. So why, even those with good training, don't sell consistently? Pop this next key for me, please. Discipline. What will be your disciplines in embracing the things you have here? Now, I regret I've gone a little over my time. I do want to spend just a few minutes talking to you about a subject, and then if time is available, and our moderator will decide that. What is the most common reason for the failure of veteran salespeople or people with the right profile, even those with good training, who don't sell consistently? That's discipline. Now, I promise to talk about the next part. Flip the slide, please. Sales training questions. How quickly can you get them out in the field? Who among you makes the hiring decision and is responsible for the growth of the individual? Who will train and coach them? Who in the organization is going? One is training, remember, one is coaching. Training, coaching. Sales manager trains, coaches, then he has 2 hats. If he is the hiring person and the trainer is separate, you got 2 separate hats. And do you have a system for retaining these people and measuring their personal growth? That's why the instruments are there. It gives you an opportunity to get charts and graphs to measure the growth of the individual from the very start, from the very day you hire them. Next slide, please. Because we're limited time. Post-hire sales training. Scientific-based system. Do you have it? Is it easily replicable? It doesn't mean is it easy. Can it be taught in a way that it becomes easily replicable? And step selling, if you don't know that, we introduced it in 1962. It's taking one idea at a time. And all of our systems for presentations, whether you're a company that does under $1 million to the company that does 400 million, we're going to say you have to review your step selling principles. The words do not, and if you think everything's going to convert to virtual, God bless you. You're still going to have to be strong in identifying those issues that are important to your prospects and train the people who work for you to present them. And all post-hire sales training is continuous, ongoing, it never stops, and it requires numerous evaluations and appraisal. Next slide. Look, we're facing a crisis in our industry. And you have to be able to have systems for measurements. Here are three of the things we're going to show you. Appointments versus presentations, not demos. Don't count the number of demonstrations given and say they sold a percentage of those. You start out by counting the appointments or leads that they were given for appointments. And you have appointments versus sales. And so if you measure that, there has to be a standard. Our systems, our methods, many of them recorded. You go on our website, you'll see all the instruments that we have that can be used for that reason. And finally, the net revenue generated per lead issued. That the net revenue generated per leads issued. That's where the NSLI comes in. Next slide. So here, installers, not much. The people require. So what should we be doing about the lack of installation, the backlog, and all the problems that we face in terms of cancellations or cycle time? Well, here's the problem. You weren't thinking about it 2 years ago. You didn't do anything about it then. And the lack of quality installers requires that you have a program. Now, many companies ignored the aging installation of their workforce, as well as the outdated training and compensation plans. And there are new ways to do that today. And I'm not trying to make this minimal for you. I'm just saying you have to take a look at what you're doing. If what you're doing is working, God bless you. But if you have had ordinarily a cycle time, meaning the day you took the job, the day you got the thing from the salesperson and said, this is a contract, versus then getting it processed, getting it through rescission, getting it all the way to the back end of the business where you finish and get it completed. If you were looking, let's say in cycle time, let's say you're just in the window business and your cycle time was an average of 5 to 6 weeks. And if you're looking at 10 to 12 weeks now, I want you just to look at the backlog and look at the number of contracts you have out there. And if you're waiting 12 weeks, and this is even more so in the remodeling, if you're waiting 7, 10, 12 weeks to get started, you have a different customer than you had in the day you sold it. And if you ignored it in the past, the first thing you have to do is study what you have right now and take the visions of the people that you work there in any one of those trades and ask those people to give you 10% more in the same time to help you. You give them bonuses. You give them bonuses that enable them to recommend people to come into the organization. So if you look at this, it is one of the key ingredients in our business. Next slide, please. Finally, cast a wider net, create improved compensation incentive. And that doesn't mean just pay them more money. You don't do it that way. You take, we have things that we post that we call them contingent factors that you gain. If you bring somebody on and they last 90 days, we give you a bonus. If they last 180 days, there's more bonus. And if they last 360 days, that's even better. But with those incentives, figure a way to carry them. And hear my words carefully. I am not suggesting that you can bring them into 401k in your business. I'm not suggesting that you could set up a bonus plan and take a bonus this year to pay them next year. But you can if you have a program which enables you to use contingent. Take the word contingent hiring. Now, if you go on our blog, you visit our blog and show you how to do it, and you look for the thing where we talked about fixing the installer problem. We were talking about that 6 to 8 months, maybe a year before the pandemic started. And I invite you to go there. And if you have someone doing the hiring and training in that organization, the DISC profile works for them as well. I've come to the end of the line. Next slide, please. And I want to tell you that I have enjoyed being with you. On this slide, it tells you what we do. How do people get to know us? We don't come into your house to have a cup of coffee or break bread with you. We come into your house, your business, with something that we call an observation. We send one of our people in to do an observation on the things you're doing. Some people hire our account executives, and they all come from over 20 years experience in the business just come in and do a meeting for them, or do an evaluation of their scripting, or do an evaluation of the lead TO, how you turn over the lead, and the factors that go into sales training. And if you think you know the business, people say, well, we've been using your system for years. If you invented the step selling, oh, I didn't say I invented it. I introduced it in this industry in 1962. And whether it's 10 steps, 8 steps, 7, 6, 5, 4 steps, it means you can only present one idea, and there has to be a model for presenting it one idea at a time, so that at the end, that customer has not only taken in the information, but made it theirs. Now, you need to update your in-home presentation, scripting. We see it all the time. You have to review and revisit your pricing, your sales, your discounting price. That's where Leap will come into play for you. Most people have followed some age-old, some old modification. How do you measure? How do you figure it? And there has to be a precision to it, and it cannot dominate what you're training people. You have to have a system that lays a price in the salesperson's hand, that they can deliver that price in confidence, and they do not have the latitude to determine which jobs they'll sell short or which job, because they're not in a position to do that. If that offends you, I don't apologize. You need assistance in recruiting and in viewing salespeople. That's why we introduced you to our, we are a very large company. We have clients in other countries. Well, we've concentrated on your business, and we believe we know your business. And look at the color of my hair. It didn't get this way by accident. I've been in this business for over 70 years. Now you do a measurement and figure how old I am. We do everything from a complete business turnaround, which includes sales, marketing, and human resources, and the installation department. So we say at the bottom, you want to talk to us? Play it again. It'll show you a 30-minute, no obligation consultation, but you must be the owner or the general manager of a business who has the permission of an owner to talk to us, because we are going to ask questions about your business, and only the owner can give you the responsibility to tell us what you're really doing. So I apologize to my friends here, and hope that the moderator doesn't punish me, Kelly, from going over time. How did I do?
Not at all. That was fantastic. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. That was a lot of great material. I know I took away a lot from that, and I do hope that everyone on the call was able to learn something new today, because ultimately, like, that's what we're here for, is to help provide some educational topics and things to the industry. So thank you so much for your time and coming on today. I thought that was wonderful. So really quickly, before we, I know we're at the top of the hour. Yeah, yep.
What I was going to say, before you wrap it up, if you have a time, and I assume you've received some questions, if you have time, I'll hang on here to answer one or two of them. I can't answer more than that. The ones we can answer, you send us to we'll keep it in our email or put it in a blog. Thank you again. Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, no, not at all. That's perfect. Yes, so as we just kind of finish up our thoughts here, if you do have questions, feel free to drop them in. We'll get to one or two here in just a moment. Before we get to that, though, I do want to announce the winners of the door prizes for today. So thanks everyone for sticking through to the end. We've got some great prizes to give away. And just really quickly before we jump into that, just a final word from our sponsors today. This webinar is brought to you by our partners at MarketSharp, a CRM solution custom designed for the home contractor industry. MarketSharp really is the core of your business and helps in a multitude of areas, from getting leads and converting sales to managing your jobs, building online reviews, increasing referrals, and of course, reporting is a major aspect there. And one of the best things about a CRM, and MarketSharp in particular, is that it does integrate with a lot of really great tools for your business, Leap being one of them. So definitely encourage you to check them out. And just a final word from Leap, just as a reminder, Leap does help you digitize the whole in-home sales process. And I think Dave touched on a really great point is, once you've got that key individual in the role, Leap really helps solidify a lot of those processes on the back end. So all the pricing, all of the product information is all packaged together really nicely for the sales reps to then be able to take forward into the home and not have to worry about, which items are in stock, out of stock. It just really lets them focus on the presentation to the homeowner, and basically everything they need to do on that appointment, from the financing, secure payment aspect. It's really everything that the rep needs to do from the time they arrive at the appointment to the time they leave. So we'd love to have a conversation with you. I'm going to launch a really quick poll here while we pull our results for the winners of the prizes here. So let me go ahead and launch that. If you would like any additional information on any of the companies that you've heard here today, Dave Yoho Associates, Market Sharp, and of course Leap, we'd love to share more info with you on that. And as a special offer for everyone on the webinar here today, we would like to offer you lunch on Leap in exchange for a conversation. So if that's something that's of interest, we'd love to tell you a little bit more and see if that's a good fit for your business. So I'm going to leave that up for just a moment, and I'm just going to go ahead and do my auto generator here and pull our winners for our prizes here today. So let me go ahead and announce our first winner. Here we go. All right, our first winner. We've got the recruiting and hiring, sales and marketing people digital course package from Dave Yoho Associates. And the winner for that today is going to be Janice Davina. Congratulations, Janice. And I'll reach out to everyone individually after the call here to get your information and finish the coordination there. So, and our next winner for the hiring interview, another digital course brought to you by the Dave Yoho Associates, will be Louis Apadalo. Congratulations, Louis. And then we've got an assessment, the Dave Yoho assessment account, which includes 10 complimentary disc profiles. And the winner for that today is going to be Sean Garathy. Congratulations, Sean. Fantastic. All right, and then our final prize here on the webinar today is an Amazon Echo Show brought to you from the Leap Group. And our winner for that is Tanya Scott. Congratulations, Tanya. All right, and again, I'll touch base with everyone on that individually after the webinar. And go ahead and close that out. And all right, so let's jump. If you all have time, we've got just a couple of questions that have come in. We'll just do one or two. And if you have any follow-up questions after that, feel free to continue dropping them in, or you can send them into to this marketing@leaptodigital.com email address. That will go straight to me. Happy to liaise that with Dave, or you can send that into that admin@daveyoho.com account as well. So we do have a question, Dave, that's coming in from Jeffrey. Jeffrey asks, is the DISC program online that applicants can take? And also the PGAC test as well? And will it be graded and sent back to the company?
Well, first of all, these are not tests. So the DISC profile is about behavior. Behavior is neither pass nor fail. It just is. So the behavioral profile, when they take it, and everyone is going to get one copy to take. And when they take it, they will get the results. They'll see the graphs or the charts that pop up right away, and they'll see what that means in the style of the behavior of the individual, the adaptability to their business. Now, when you get over to there is the evaluation for sales ability is more like a test, but it isn't a pass-fail. It's an evaluation of the individual's capability and what you're about to do. So much depends, Kelly, on the individual, the owner. Whoever is going to take this, first of all, realize that you cannot know what you do not know. So let's find out about your behavior. And this is not the psychological analysis of anyone. It's about the behavior you can anticipate. So there's your answer in that. Pretty much, I hope and you can go online and see more about our services there. We run probably the largest set of algorithms for that particular instrument that is available. So
wonderful. Thank you for that, Dave. And thanks, Jeffrey, for your question. Hope that answers that for you. Then we have another question coming in from Karen. I run a small but fast growing general remodeling company. I don't like the word salesperson for my project managers, but I do realize they have to understand sales methods. What do you suggest?
All right, then, to the young lady who sent that in, I appreciate that. And the first thing is for you to make a study of what selling really is, because most of what you see, hear, and practice may not be selling. It may be your interpretation of give and take. That's why selling has gotten a bad name, and that may be why you don't want your people to be called selling. But if you thought about it this way, here is the customer who is giving you time to come into their home to make a presentation of your product. Depending on what you tell them, they're going to give you an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours of time in their home. Don't waste their time. You have to have somebody that develops a needs assessment. Now, the needs assessment is that the customer says, this is what I want. And if you think of what they want, as soon as possible, they want the price. Now, if you said to them, that's all you want, a low price? No, no. Well, what else do you want? Well, I want to see the guy's insurance, has experience, has a warranty, and how they're going to put it in. But that has to be based on where they see their needs. And people seldom see their needs. They'll tell you their wants. It is up to someone who understands the give and take of good sales methodology that learns needs assessment. So much of that, you can go on YouTube under my name, Dave Yoho YouTube, and you'll see dozens of 3 and 4 minute snippets about what we teach and how it's done. Like, example, the correct words to use when closing a sale. Look that one up. Or look up trying to buy a car. And I don't mean you're selling cars. I'm going to point out what is wrong sometimes with the way they're sold. And we give you that all free of charge.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for attending the webinar today. As I bring this to a close, I just want to say again, a huge thank you to Dave for joining us and for leading today's presentation, and for all of you for taking the time out of your day to join us. I really hope that you got a lot out of the presentation and you learned something new. As you exit out of the webinar today, you will see a brief survey pop up. I just would love it if you could fill that out and let us know how we did, any topics that you'd like to hear about in the future. We do love to hear what you're interested in as we plan out future webinars. So with that, any closing words from you, Dave?
Well, no, I thank the people. The greatest contributor, in my opinion, are the people who aren't on here for this hour and 10 minutes, I guess. And you've given up a valuable asset in your business, your personal time. Your personal time is worth the time in your business because you have other things to do. But information is peculiar because if you have it and you don't follow through, it's almost like not having it. I hope we have provided you with some ground strokes, some things you can look at in your business. And in closing, I would like to tell you this. Beyond thanking you and in appreciation for your participating today, I can only wish you the joy and satisfaction that has brought me to this level of where I am in the industry. I've made a speech in every state in the United States and 22 foreign countries, made over 5,000 speeches, been on the Today Show and the Tonight Show, all because I did what the business you're in would like to do. And you now have the option of following what you believe might be helpful and putting it to the test. God bless you.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Have a great afternoon.